Hey friends, it's Laura Lynn. If you've heard part one of my conversation with Tiffany Baker Larnicol, then you know we only got through half the story. And in case you missed the second half, I really wanted to put it up here again and encourage everyone to take a watch, take a listen, and it's a really good episode. It's the harder half of our conversation. Tippy talks about choosing to go back to places that most people spend their whole lives trying to leave, quite honestly. She talks about what home actually means, and once you've seen what she's seen, or then perhaps we all understand home a little bit more. But take a few minutes out of your day and listen to part two of my conversation with Tiffany Baker Larnicol.
Well, hello, and welcome to Story Sessions, where your story matters. I'm your host, Laura Lynn Donahue, and each week we gather for meaningful conversations rooted in lived experience. Let's dive in. So from Paris, well, tell us why Dubai? Why are you in Dubai now?
Well, my husband didn't request it, but he was working for Airbus at the time. And they said, well, would you be interested in going to the Middle East and being in charge of the Middle East and Africa? So when I came here, my first thoughts were maybe a little shocked sometimes when I saw women's faces fully covered, not just with the hijab, but sometimes fully covered.
Yeah.
It doesn't faze me now. And actually I was very fortunate. One of the first people I met here was a lovely girl that was introduced to me through the art world. And she was from Beaufort, South Carolina.
Wow.
And just an adorable Southern belle and sweet as can be. And she sort of course, like any nice Southern girl would, she helped me find my first apartment and invited us out and helped us make friends and all these things. And then it's grown into much deeper experience. Of learning the history of this region, which is fascinating, which actually is very timely with the war right now, because now you know how important of a trading spot this was. Because the Strait of Hormuz is blocked. So, this was an important trading spot coming in the Gulf.
Yeah.
Connecting Turkey, going back into Europe, even China, all of that. The country is only 54 years old.
I knew it was young.
Yeah, I may get that wrong, but it's a young country, and the speed look, it's so modern and it moves so fast and incredibly well equipped and in every way. And what a surprise. I always say Japan was the biggest surprise of my life, but Dubai was the second biggest surprise of my life. I remember once I was living in Paris and I was trying to model when I first got there, and a girl at a casting said she lived in Dubai part-time, and she said, would you ever live there? And I said, oh, no, I would never live there. I'm thinking Islamic country, I have to be veiled, I'll have no rights. Why would I live there?
Yeah.
Again, I just didn't know much. And now it's hard to find reasons to leave, even amidst a war.
Yes, most definitely. You've been such a window to the world for me. I had my own misconceptions about Dubai, really because of ignorance and lack of education. So just thinking that that was a scary place to live.
Sure. Yeah.
And to come into the realization through someone I trust and love that this is a beautiful culture and it is very safe. And
Very.
there's so much respect for the individual and for the community at large is what I've seen through your lens.
Yeah. I mean, we have over 200 nationalities that live
Mm.
here and live together peacefully. I think my next thing I would like to tackle would be to study the history of Islam more because I read a book I stumbled upon by accident. We have a fantastic bookstore here from Japan called Kinokuniya. I mean, it's just massive and great selection. And I decided to go into the local section and I just was looking up and staring at the books and I saw a title of a book that caught me. It's called The Islamic Jesus. And I
Interesting.
believe underneath it, it says how the king of the Jews became the prophet of the Muslims.
Interesting.
So, what was
Mm.
really fascinating from a historical point of view is when I read the book, I found not as many differences but similarities
Mm.
between the Bible and what I was reading in this book. So
Yeah.
this was blowing my mind. Okay, yes, there are some other big differences, but I have to say this was fascinating to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And their dedication, but it's not one person here has ever tried to push any of this down my throat. Never.
Mm. Wow. Yeah.
There's such a respect and I would say like a respectful distance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a hard balance to find, but they have
Yeah.
somehow found it here.
Wow.
I find it beautiful.
Well, how we were designed was never intended to be alone or separatist. We were designed to love, I believe, at our core and innately love and kindness. We all have that. We can have that opportunity to exercise that or not. And, we were raised in an evangelical area. So to be somewhere where your beliefs, whatever they are not called into question as being right or wrong or the way or not the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that religion is really designed for structure.
Yes.
And it's not designed by well, mostly men design religious culture.
Yes. Especially living here, it's really interesting to think about the history of Islam because of you think about that the locals were Bedouins, which a Bedouin was a wandering person in the desert. They needed to be told certain things like you need to keep your beard, a little bit like shaved in a nice way. You need to pray 5 times a day so they didn't hopefully like start fighting, like to keep them sort of regimented,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's something that I've learned living here, which we really, really forget, is we need to study history more to understand why things are the way they are. This would clear up a lot of questions if we would study history, and especially in this region. We have to remember this region goes back thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and basically the birth of humanity was very close to here, right around the corner. And there are reasons why people have certain feelings here about certain things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I'm just saying if you look at the history and put yourself in their shoes, you might be able to see why. There's really not any Americans here. I'm kind of like
Interesting.
a lone wolf. Trying to kind of, you know, balance this very carefully during a sticky moment in history.
Every story moves through stages, and Story Sessions is built to meet you at each one. Start with a focused discovery session to uncover your story's arc, and then move into a guided series that sharpens your voice, your positioning, and your path forward. And when you're ready, step into launch with expert coaching to help your story land with clarity and impact. And sometimes, when a story truly stands out, we don't just help guide it, we publish it. Find out where your story starts at StorySessions.live.
Well, speaking of sticky moments, let's fast forward to present day. You've been there 9 years, and on February 28th,
Yes.
tell us what happened. And this is your story. This is your story. You're telling this not from someone else's perspective looking in. I just want the audience to know that this is your experience.
You know, to be completely honest, there are parts of the war I can't remember exactly clearly. I don't know if that's PTSD. What happened was we received on our phone an alert. So the alert sounds like a very loud alarm. I think maybe we had gone to bed, and of course we'd been hearing the rumblings of something happening. And you know, there was a short war back in almost a year ago. There was a 12-day war back in last June, I think, and I actually left. It's like I was prepared then. I wasn't prepared this time.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess we received the first alert and it said take shelter.
Mm. Yeah. What does that mean?
So I said to my husband, what do we do? Because imagine, Dubai was the last place you would ever expect that would get hit.
Mm.
No one ever thought that we would get hit there.
Yeah. Yeah.
All I remember is the alerts started coming that night, one after.
Goodness.
And my husband was more calm. I sort of was like, where it would take cover. What does that mean, take cover? We go to the basement.
Yeah.
All I knew is get away from the windows because our apartment is like all windows. My husband just tried to get away from the windows. And then we have a WhatsApp group in the building, and several people said that they were going down to the basement. My husband lived here 25 years ago, and he actually sold the interception system that intercepts the missiles and drones.
Wow.
So they've been preparing for this for a long time in case it happened. And my husband said, don't worry. I sold the system to them. It works. They're just trying to scare us. But it was a long night. It was a
Oof.
long night because it was constant. So you can't go back to sleep. I just remember like watching the sun come up and all of a sudden it stopped.
Hmm.
And the thing about it is we live downtown but also close to the beach. So we're on the side that's closer to Iran. we're going to get hit first. It's
Uh-huh.
easier. We're in the location where they're coming closest to us.
Mm.
And then there was fighter jets start going over. And so then the building shakes when the
Mm-hmm.
fighter jets go over. And when there's an interception or an explosion, the windows rattle. So it's just constant noise and, rattling and alarms and going off, and then your what's up going off, people in the building. We have a lot of children that live
Yeah.
in the building.
Mm.
So people are saying, what are you doing with your children? Where should we put the children? Some people have babies. So the first night was rough. And then the next day, we were just kind of waiting, hoping there was a one-off.
Mm-hmm.
And it started again the next night. And then it started becoming a nightly thing. So I guess on I can't even remember, I don't know, maybe we're day 5 or something. My husband decides he needs to evacuate his people in Saudi because they were starting to hit, the whole region was getting hit. But you have to remember, we were getting hit the most. We received more missiles and drones than Israel got.
My goodness. Wow.
So if you look at the numbers, it's unbelievable. And I'm not trying to diminish anyone's experience, but it was quite shocking, the amount that we got. So my husband had a relatively young girl working in Saudi, and he evacuated her. He got a driver to get her out, drove her to Dubai, so we moved her in for a few days. She was really shaken.
Yeah.
So then, because we were old enough to be her parents, we're trying to keep it together for her because she's really freaking out. And this back window faces the airport. So this is when they start trying to hit the airport. So it started every night about the same time, about 8:30 at night, and you just see all of a sudden just drones, missiles, just like this, like this. And then, they hit right beside the U.S. consulate, and I thought that's when I got really worried.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then during the whole process, the U.S. government tells me to evacuate.
Right.
But I could not get through to the State Department. They said, call the State Department, but I can't get through. First of all, the phone number wouldn't work. Or when I finally got through to the phone number, it would hang up on me. When I finally got through, this went on for a week, and a week is too long.
Goodness.
A week is too long when you're in a war and they're saying evacuate, but they didn't give, they didn't give the Americans like any way out or safe travel or, well, evacuate to go where?
Well, and they weren't answering the phone.
And then when finally when you got through, there was a message that said you are responsible to get yourself out. And I just thought, okay, to tell you the truth, it's one thing, okay, that there's regional tensions, but it's another thing when you kind of feel like you've been abandoned by your country that's going into this war, and they're saying get out, but you don't know how you're going to get out because they were hitting the airport. So the airport would close down and then it would open up. But even if it opened up, there was no guarantee that you could fly. And then if you did fly, sometimes the planes would have to circle until it would be a clear space.
yeah.
Or you might sit on the tarmac for hours, or you might go up and then you come back down.
Yeah. Oh, chaos.
So then we start discussing, okay, well, maybe we need to go through the French government. So then and I never even received an email from the consulate or the embassy, not even an email.
Wow.
I just heard this on the news, you need to evacuate.
Yeah.
So, I didn't get a text or anything. And in the meantime, a friend of with you and I's, happened to know a congressman, and she called him and said, she can't get through to the State Department.
Yeah.
And so he said, okay, that's not good. We have to get her out of there. So they got our names on a list, but we didn't hear from them like for several days. And then March 12th, my birthday, I wake up that morning and I'm thinking, well, what should I do today? I mean, I'm not going to expect much this year for my birthday, and it was about noon. I was sitting in the living room. My husband was in this room, which is his office. And, we've been receiving everything coming this way. And then I hear my husband start saying, in a tone of voice I never heard him use before. This was a tone of voice it was like sheer fright. And my husband is not the type, he's a tough guy. He's lived in a dangerous country before. I just heard him saying over and over and over again, oh my God. So what was really strange was I was in the living room and there's a lot of construction around us. I mean, would you believe they're building Trump Tower beside us?
Wow. There's great irony there.
Yeah, so with the construction, and when you start to have PTSD, you get to the point you can't differentiate between what could be a Lamborghini outside or a construction, or is it a missile?
Yeah.
Any noise, you jump.
Yeah.
So what happened was, it was a drone or missile, we're not really sure which, probably a drone now. But it was going very slow. So that day they were very clever. They directed it around. It was coming from the opposite direction. So that's why I didn't think anything. We live next to the Dubai financial district. They were trying to hit the financial district, the banks.
Oh, just shut him down.
Yeah. And so, these drones are made with like a lawnmower engine. So they're very slow. You have to watch and hear this. And I think what shocked my husband was it wasn't being intercepted.
Oh, right.
So this interception system, it has a 90 to almost 100% rate that it works, but
Yeah.
there's a small percentage it won't catch one.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, it came right past this window, right behind
Tiffy.
me. Yeah. So I ran in here and it went down and it exploded, just like you see in the movies, like a huge ball of fire. That
My
whole,
goodness.
red ball of fire. And luckily it went into an empty lot, we think, but he and I have different stories from that day, so we don't know. When you experience something like that, it's hard to recall.
Yeah.
Certain details. I mean, we know we saw the ball of fire.
Right.
And what was really, I guess, what my husband kind of flipped at that point, and he said, okay, that's it. We're leaving.
Yeah.
One that he was always the one like, no, hang on. He was like, okay, that's it. We're leaving. We're out of here.
Yeah.
He said, you have 2 hours. You go pack your things. We're in the car in 2 hours.
Well.
And I said, but to go where? And he said, we will drive to Oman and we will fly from Oman to Paris tomorrow. Because the airport, I think the airport maybe was closed at that point, but it was also getting hit so much. It was too risky. So I think I left the room. I went and got my bags and then I came back in the room and I said, oh, wait, when you say pack, do you mean pack like I'm never coming back? Or just pack like we're taking a break? And he said, pack like you're never coming back.
Wow, Tiffy. Oh my gosh.
And then I said, but the cat. I mean, what?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people were panicking. They were taking their animals. They were thinking that that they would just let them on the plane, and they wouldn't let them through Oman, and they had to abandon them.
Dear. Oh, dear.
So, but the cat, I can't leave the cat. What do I do about the cat? He said, we will figure that out later, but we have to go.
Yeah.
I was just gutted. We made arrangements for the cat, but still, I felt awful. I thought if something happened and the building explodes, I'm going to feel terrible. But anyway, I start packing, and then you're not really thinking straight. You're like, what do I put in there? You know,
Yeah. Pack like you're not coming back. What does that mean? I mean, in the state of emergency and making decisions, you can't possibly process that.
no, and I described to people like those first 12 days of the war. It was like being like in COVID, but in a war. So imagine that you're like housebound with constant barrage of missiles and drones and explosions and fighter jets and news, because you're trying to figure out what's going on. And then at a certain point, we actually stopped watching the news.
Yeah.
Because we realized that we're actually the ones living in the war, and we knew more than anyone on the outside. So
Yeah.
we just stopped watching the news and stopped trying to predict. And you had to have this trust that it's somehow going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so we left, and what was really interesting was, there's 7 emirates in the UAE.
Okay.
Each is a different emirate. So we drove, I think our driver kind of took a back way because the lines to enter Oman had been very long. To enter, the people were trying to evacuate.
Yeah.
And so we drove through the oldest established emirate, which is Alam.
Uh-huh.
When we got in the car, I was just in shock, and I didn't know what to say. I just was staring out the window.
Yeah.
I just was thinking, what happens now? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what happens now. So we drove through Alan. It was about dinner time, and Alan is the one emirate that's kind of like going back in time. It's changed as much. It's very quiet. It's very family. It's very beautiful. It's like stepping back a little bit in this region, and there's all these children in the streets, and the sun was going down. I just thought, how did we go from we're almost just blown up to they have no idea what's going on? Just the dichotomy of emotion. It was really overwhelming. Then we got to the border of Oman, and because it was Ramadan, okay, I guess I was a little bit relieved, but still, I didn't feel great. And they want to search our bags. And I don't know why, Lauren, but I had put my French passport in my bag, and I had my U.S. passport in my purse. So the minute I hand them my U.S. passport, and I'm a woman, and I had on a white dress, it was not inappropriate, but if I could have planned, I would have worn a long dress, and I would have given them my French passport.
Yeah, yeah.
So, they did not speak English. They're looking at me, they're looking at the passport. U.S. passport, female. This is the first time in my life I have ever felt so uncomfortable.
Oh, goodness.
And then, I had 2 bags, and I had just kind of thrown things in the bag. And because remembering during COVID, which was kind of silly that like I said, I wasn't thinking correctly. I didn't want to be out without any of my medication.
Yeah.
So I took all my medication and I just threw it in there, although I could have gotten it in France. But I was just thinking, because we didn't know at that point. I mean, what if...
Oh, you were in survival mode. You just get it and go.
And what if we got stuck in Oman? Like, we didn't know. Because Oman, would you believe, Oman was not being hit except for the day we arrived.
My goodness. Oh my goodness.
Okay, it didn't affect anything for us, but can you imagine? It was just like following us.
You're
And
getting away. You think you're getting away, and then
we're
you're,
just trying to run away to somewhere
yeah.
safe. And so they start going through my bags. They're rifling through my bags. And they keep going through them and they keep going through them. Well, which I understand why. They start questioning my medication. They're taking pictures of it. And then they're trying to look it up. And then they want to know what it is. And why do I have so much? And of course, because they're trying to avoid drug trafficking, of course, across the border. Finally, I mean, it's a little bit funny now. It wasn't funny then because my husband had lived in Islamic countries before. Finally, he just looked at them and he said, "Woman medicine." Woman medicine. They dropped it. Yeah. So then they let us, then we had to go in to have our passports looked at. And would you believe it's when they break fast? So then they wanted to go break fast and pray. So we gotten all the way to the border, got through the bags. Now, of course, they fast for all day. So they had to go. I was the only woman there. There was no female officer that could have helped me. There was no interpreter, anything. Thank God I had a shawl with me. So I covered up in a shawl.
Yeah.
So then they went in pairs of twos to pray and eat. And then they ate in front of us.
Yeah. Wow.
I have no patience. Today, just want this day to be over with. So eventually we got someone that would stamp our passports. And then we got to a hotel, we went to bed, and then we flew to Paris the next day.
Wow.
And then we were gone 5 weeks. We stayed. And then I chose to come back of my own accord alone.
Okay. I don't know that I realized it was you were alone coming back.
I was, because my husband needed to stay in Paris for work. And I guess through the process of sort of healing, although I think I'm still healing.
Goodness, yeah.
I became angry and I thought, I'm not going to be forced out of my home. You're not forced. And the UAE government had taken such good care of us. I mean, they had intercepted and fighter jets, and the rulers have been out in public and with the people, and everything that they could do to unite us and encourage us and protect us and make us feel confident. And I thought, no, I'm going back. And I decided to come back on my own. And I'm going back and I'm getting my cat, and we're gonna go back. And the first plan was I'd come back for 2 weeks. And maybe I would bring the cat. But then I came back and I thought, no, you're not going to dictate. This situation is not going to dictate, because I had my country not help me get out of here. I had to find my own way. And then, this country that doesn't owe me anything protected me. They don't owe me anything. I am here temporarily. But they have such a respect for the people that live here, that help keep this country going and respected and respect what they are about. And I thought, no, I want to be a part of being a part of getting through this and to the next. The recovery phase, whenever that is. So I came back alone, and the first few nights were a little rough, because you keep waiting for it to start, because it always started, of course, when you're about to go to bed.
Yeah.
In those first 2 weeks, we had one day where they hit us about 6 times. And it was strange. It was all during the day. It was not during the night. Oh no, you're gonna start this again?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's gonna be different this time, and I'm gonna figure it out, crazy as I may be. This is not how the story's gonna end. If it's if it's the last thing I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have to tell you something. I did not feel comfortable with what was happening, and as an American, just fleeing.
Hmm.
I'm out of
Yeah.
here. The
Hmm.
rest of you can stay and deal with it. I didn't feel
Yeah.
comfortable about what that message sent.
Mm. But that's
Because I,
so cognizant and so aware and so unselfish.
you know, I I had the privilege to be able to get on a plane, to get a driver, leave,
Hmm.
get on a plane, even though it was hard, I still could leave. There are so many people here, they have lost their job, they cannot leave, they cannot send money home to their families that they are supporting in countries like Africa, Yemen, Syria, Pakistan. What does it look like that I just leave? You clean up the mess.
Well, fight, flight, freeze. Sometimes that's what we do to take care of
Yeah,
ourselves.
and I definitely froze for 5 weeks. And then I got angry. And
Yeah.
then I got clear.
Mm.
And I let that direct me back. And now I guess I'm still trying to figure out, what do I do with all of this, because it's not over.
Yeah.
We don't, I'm still here.
Mm.
So I was supposed to be home, but now I'm staying as long as I can
Yeah.
until we leave. We take a holiday in August, and I feel good about that.
Well, you're also, even though you're in a volatile area geographically right now, you're in the place that has taken the best care of you.
Isn't that crazy? I
Yeah.
mean, and what I've learned, I have a lot of mixed feelings about what's going on, the reasons why it's going on. But what I've learned from the UAE government on the model that they have created here is really unique, to be able to support all of these nationalities. There's so much division in so many parts of the world, and there's so much of this feeling of like mistrust of governments, and you don't know, is anyone telling the truth, and
Hmm. Hmm.
different theories. And gosh, I don't mean to make it sound light, but I mean, I'm tired. I'm like, I don't know if you feel that way, but I'm like tired beyond my years already
Yeah.
of stories.
Yeah.
This is not something that I think our generation thought that we would deal with. I think because we were born during the Vietnam War, maybe our parents thought after that we could never have anything that would be that bad
Yeah.
again. And our generation didn't really have that purpose like our
Hmm.
parents' generation had.
Yeah. Yeah.
Vietnam was so bad that our generation, it was like you and I growing up, they wanted everything to be perfect and like squeaky clean, and
Yeah.
we don't want to look at that ugliness anymore. And
Yeah.
it really was that way for a long time in the US in the 70s and 80s. And anytime something bad or unfortunate is, maybe in a strange way, as tragic as it is, maybe this was a shakeup that we need in a way, as
Hmm.
humanity. What I mean to say is, as an American here during this time, without any other Americans being here, I just want them to know that I see them.
By tuning into this podcast, you understand one thing. Everyone has a story to tell, and that includes you. But sometimes we need a little help to bring our story into the world. That's where Story Sessions comes in. We're a collective of published authors, editors, and experienced storytellers who know that great stories aren't manufactured, they're revealed. Through thoughtful listening, guided conversations, and respect for your voice, we help uncover the story that is already inside you. Story Sessions. Your story told the way it was meant to be. Find out more at storysessions.live.
Yeah.
So if I can sit down with one
Mm-hmm.
and they are so appreciative, if you just talk to them about their life, their family, their village,
Yeah.
and they want the same things that we want.
Yeah.
Why would I want to be anywhere else?
Well, I see a message of, and if you want to put it a little bit in, let's say, a religious context or in a spiritual context of, we haven't done anything to deserve the good, yet the good is provided. That is what you're experiencing, that unfortunately other countries, US included, aren't experiencing. We are experiencing the division and the camps, whether they're the political camps, the religious camps, the yes people, the no people. There's a label for all of us here. And
Yeah.
to see the community of love, or the, regardless of what, of the greater, well, it is the greater good. The greater good is to love and to care for and to be kind. And when you whittle that away, you're not safe.
No, you're not. And when you live with people from oppressed countries, even though I am in living in a bit of a bubble here in Dubai, which it is fair enough to a certain degree, but I don't choose to live all my life like that here. What I choose is to notice the people from the workers from Bangladesh and India and Pakistan and Syria and Iraq. And so this is humbling. You know, the majority of these people, they are brilliant and they know so much about politics.
Mm.
They know exactly what's going on. And when you sit down and talk to them, the wisdom that they give is very simple, but it's delivered in this calm way of simplicity. You know, I had a Pakistani gentleman in here the other day doing some work for me, and I said to him, I said, you know, I really have to commend Pakistan on what they've done with the negotiations of trying to work the negotiations and bring this together. I said, I'm so happy that the light has been shown on Pakistan, because a lot of people don't know what a fantastic country Pakistan is. It's beautiful, it's full of resources, incredible country. And he made him feel really good. And he said, yes. He said, you know, he was just trying to get them both to come together and please just stop the fighting. Please, like, someone please just stop, because this whole region now, okay, the whole world now is suffering because of this. But the region is going to really suffer.
Yeah.
And this region has come so far, so fast, and it's heartbreaking. So, yeah, I'm not here to point fingers. I'm not here to say who's right or wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not here to be in one camp or another. This is not a political platform for me. That's not the way I go. I'm just looking at the people in front of me and what they tell me and what I see living there. And that's my humble opinion.
Yeah.
That's the simplest way I can put it.
Well, I appreciate that, and the context of, well, it's a stand up for humankind, for humanity. And, sometimes you think, well, if only everybody thought the way I did, and it's right. That's not the case. It's about being human and taking care of how we treat each other. And that's be present. Yes.
And just listen.
Yeah.
Be present and just listen to someone.
Listen.
And be an open heart.
Yeah.
This is the biggest lesson I've learned traveling. And I've been so surprised time and time again where I think, that is one way to look at it. I will try that once and see if it works for me. They might be onto something with that.
What an opportunity.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I thank you so much for sharing your very present story, and to put some of your backstory with the present story is really it's a beautiful picture and evolution of a person and a gift. You're a gift. And I'll probably just tear up a little bit. But I know that about you, and that's why I wanted to share your story, this story.
Thank you.
Just one more reflection, and it's the picture you posted of the Strait of Hormuz. Seeing it in its beautiful natural state, in what it was intended to be and what it is. We're just seeing a different picture of what that looks like. We're missing, or we've been stripped of the beauty.
This whole region is beautiful. I hope that we're turning the corner soon.
Yeah. Well, I will look forward to our next interview when we talk about what the ending did to bring everyone together.
Yeah, me too.
And thank you so much, Tippy, for your time. It's been so rich for me, and I know it will be for the listeners, for our audience. Yeah.
Well, thank you for thinking of me to have me on here, and thank you for being that person that makes it easy to be honest.
Well, thank you for saying that, because that's what it's about. It's about, and listening, like you said earlier. So I send you all my love, and I'm so glad to see you, if not in person to hug. At least technology has given us this opportunity. So, all right, take care. All right, thank you. All right, bye-bye. Wow, what a wonderful opportunity. Tiffany, thank you so much for today, for your solid 2 hours of time. And for those of you who are listening, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, for watching. I repeatedly explain that I do this so that stories can be told. Not for entertainment, although there is certainly entertainment value, but it is oftentimes it's the story that recalibrates you, that wakes you up to new information about yourself, about connection. And that is what I hope that you've experienced today. And if you're listening, and if this resonates with you, please share this conversation. I would love for you to do that, to spread the word about Story Sessions, the podcast. And thank you. Thank you for joining us. Have a great rest of your week. And remember, your story matters. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening to Story Sessions, where your story matters. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a 5-star review, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone you know. To learn more about the Story Sessions family, visit storysessions.live. That's storysessions.live. Thanks so much and see you next week.